Hello, everyone. Kate Byars with Corporate Women Unleashed. Really excited to be bringing you a client interview this morning. I'm here with Sarah. She's a vice president in the print industry. She's an amazing, amazing client who actually went through our program last year and has continued to work with us in our higher level, executive level mastermind. So Sarah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Thanks, Kate. Me too.
Cool. Yeah, well, let's, we've been chit-chatting before we even got in here, but let's jump in and really just sort of paint the picture, if you don't mind. Like, what would you say you were going through? What was happening in your career before you found CW and made you want to make some changes?
I had been in my career in that specific role for about 6 years, and prior to that, still working for the same company for 7 years prior to that. And it was going nowhere. And I was confronted by my manager, who I had a great relationship with and still do, that my job was being eliminated and that I could take a lesser role or I could leave the company. And I really did not want to take the lesser role, not because it was a lesser role, but because I'd had that job before. And as I said to him, I didn't like the job the first time I had it, and I did not think I was going to like it this next time. So I was choice of staying with a company that I really liked, or going out on my own. And I'd actually been talking for so many years about leaving and trying something different and trying to find a better place for myself. And I hadn't. And I was really at the end of my rope because I didn't know what to do. And I saw CWU, and I had participated in your free trainings twice. Actually, the second time brought a friend of mine with me to listen, and it just made sense to me. And I decided that I needed to make a change and that this was the right fit for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So a big piece of it for you, Sarah, was just bumping your head at this career juncture going, what do I do? Do I leap out of corporate and go out on my own, or what, was the fear that, because I know one of the things you and I had talked about was you felt you'd also been bumping against sort of that next step. You were ready for that next big step in your career, but for whatever reason, it wasn't happening for you.
Yep. I was definitely ready for the next big step in my career. And I knew that I didn't want to take that step at the company that I was at. The reason I didn't want to is because being a first level manager within that organization is really just an unpleasant life. It's a lot of demanding work. It never ends. It's nights, it's weekends. And that's where I was already working. I didn't need to add more on top of that. The first year I worked for the company, I ended up in the hospital because I was working 20 hours a day and couldn't see, and I couldn't drive because I was so tired. And it learned to control that over the time that I was there, but it was still not going to get any better. And so I was just tired of banging my head against the wall and not having time for my family. I had grown distant from my husband. I had a young daughter who I wanted to spend time with. And I would literally go to get my hair cut and bring my laptop with me and be on conference calls while somebody was cutting my hair. I got a break.
Right. Okay. So what kept you though there? You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, well, Sarah, why don't you just go get another job? No big deal. Like you had a unique situation, which I think a lot of women share, that doesn't make that decision so easy.
Yeah. So I decided to stay for a couple of reasons. At first, it was because we lived in a remote place and there was not a lot of opportunity. Excuse me. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. So if I left that job, I didn't know where else I would get a job. Then we moved back to a more populated area because they said I could be a teleworker. And then all of a sudden they took that opportunity away. And I kind of hung on with tooth and nail because I was the breadwinner for my family. I made more money than my husband, and it was a steady job with a steady income with, the pay was great. It just was taxing on my soul.
Tax the money. Yeah. And that is a big trap for us. When we are the breadwinner, and you're being pulled in so many different directions, because I hear you. You want to be home more to be mom. You want to be closer to your husband. You're working 20 hours a day. Your health is out the window. But yet, what do you do? Because you are the breadwinner. And when we don't have a lot of options, the stress really starts to build up. So where was it affecting you? I mean, I understand it was affecting you in your relationship with your family. Was it affecting your health, your mental stress?
Yeah, it was definitely affecting my mental health. I just stressed all the time. I was short with my family. I was angry. My in-laws, who are the nicest people in the whole world and care for me as if I was their own child, they would come to visit us, and I was short with them and angry at them because they could spend time doing things with my family that I couldn't do. And my health, I was not ever going to the doctor. We have a gene, not disorder, but my family carries a gene which could cause cancer, and I wasn't going to the doctor to follow up on the medications that I'm on to make sure that my health is okay. I gained a ton of weight, but didn't have time to even think about working out or planning food. And my husband does most of the cooking, so I was leaving him up to his own devices. So cheeseburgers it is. I mean, granted, he's a great cook, and we had all sorts of fantastic meals, but you can't eat, beef Wellington every day.
Right.
There was just no time. Time.
Yeah.
And my company was global. So we literally worked on a schedule from, the only time when people really weren't working was from about noon on a Saturday till about midnight on a Saturday. And the rest of the time, 24-hour days.
Wow. Well, and I want to, stop for a second, and also just for anyone who's listening to this, make a point that, Sarah, you are a very highly educated, talented, exceptional woman. I mean, this is not like, Sarah's just like struggling to figure out how to get a job. Like, you're slaying it. Everyone loves you at this company where you're at. You are incredibly well educated, and yet you're still sort of stuck in this crossroads of, I don't know which way to go. Was there anything else you had tried, Sarah, to fix this before you started working with us?
I had actually gone to therapy in 2009 because things were so bad, and that helped for a while, but it didn't solve the problems. It taught me how to address some of the issues, but I never learned how to, evaluate that this is not a good situation and to make time for myself and really address my needs. So that is something that I got out of CWU, and I sit there sometimes and I think, okay, what do I need? What does my company need? What does my family need? And then I balance those, and I try to figure out the best way of navigating that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So what was that? Was there a final straw that brought you in? I know you said you went to our live event. I'm sorry, one of our live presentations twice. So what was it for you? Was there some sort of straw that broke the camel's back where you finally said, I got to do something about this?
Yeah. So the straw that broke the camel's back that made me schedule my initial call with you was that my boss at my previous employer said, either you take this lesser job or you leave. And I really didn't want that job, and I felt trapped, and I felt like I had to take it, and I felt like life was just going to be miserable. And having gone to your webinar, I realized that maybe I don't have to be miserable. Maybe there is something else out there. And kind of at the same time that I went to the webinar and spoke with you, a friend of mine, I'd started to look for a job. I had actually put my resume out there. I had turned on my LinkedIn Professional. I had said on LinkedIn that I was open to opportunities. A good friend of mine from the industry said, hey, why don't you talk to this person that we both know? I bet they would hire you in an instant. And basically what ended up happening was we had lunch and I was hired. A few subsequent interviews, but it was kind of a done deal. So in the midst of all this, I had an accident, was having surgery. And so there was a lot that happened all in the space of a very short time. And to me, having having CWU grounded me. So it gave me something to focus on while all these other things were so chaotic. And it continues to be that way for me. So all the things that I've learned, the journaling, the listening to the different the videos and participating in the group calls, those are things I look forward to. They still inspire me. And what you've also taught me, especially recently when I have hit some additional roadblocks, is, change the strategy. Don't necessarily have a different goal, but change the way that you get to your goal.
Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. So that was that perfect lead in. Thank you, Sarah. What significant wins are you most proud of? I mean, because I do remember, you came to Corporate Women Unleashed with, Kate, I'm getting ready to have surgery and I'm in the middle of what I think is going to be a pretty significant job change. And I want more out of my life. I don't want just a job. There was a lot going on. So I remember that. And you were just sort of like so on fire. You were like, anything we asked you to do, you're like, yep. Okay. What's next? But what are some significant wins? You just mentioned a couple, but anything you wanted to share?
Yeah. So life-changing, I would say, is, so I go to this new job, and I had been working with this organization while at my previous job. So I knew many, many people there. I had a good background on what they did. I've learned a ton since I've been there. It's not to say that I was an expert, but within a few weeks, it became very evident that the job they hired me for and I were not necessarily compatible, just because I didn't have experience in it. But there was a gap within the organization where I did have a lot of experience. And so they quickly asked me to take that over, which came along with a promotion and a pay increase. What ended up happening was they asked me to take on responsibilities. And before, I never would have had the courage to say, I'm happy to do that, but I need to be compensated both in title and in pay for what you're asking me to do. And they actually called me to apologize for not having offered that in the beginning. I never would have asked. I remember somebody at one point had recommended a TED Talk, and I listened to the TED Talk, and they said, act like a superhero. So because I work from home, I am standing in my office with my hands on my hip doing my best. That's exactly it, my best Wonder Woman impression or Supergirl impression, and asked for it, and I got it. So roll now, I'm about 10 months into the new job. We've recently gone through a restructuring, and I've been promoted again. So I'm on the exec team. I have a seat at the table. I'm one of the influencers for the company. I'm changing their entire strategy for going to market. I'm working with an agency to help us change our archetype and persona for the company. I'm changing the messaging. So I feel like they've given me a really, really long leash to run and to pull the company along with me.
Holy cow, Sarah. I don't know for anyone else who's listening. You just said, I have a job that is actually, the title is now commensurate with who I am and what I'm capable of. I've got an executive seat at the table. The job sounds juicy as heck. You're getting to change the way the game is played, super fulfilling and challenging, but yet you're working from home, you're still momming, you're still wifing, because what I heard you say at the top of the interview was that, your connection needs are now moving back in the right direction where you want it to be. So share that with us. What is the quality of life now? And what else has changed for you?
So my right arm really hurts because I was at my daughter's school this morning pouring orange juice for over an hour straight, which I never before would have been able to do. It sounds funny, but she was so excited to come into the cafeteria this morning for donuts with parents, and I was there helping out.
That's cool. That's so cool. That's okay. That says enough right there. Okay, thank you. Interview over, Sarah. That's divine. That's just perfection. All right, cool. Any obstacles you had to overcome, on this journey, or, I'll ask you a two-part question. Obstacles you'd like to share that, for others considering making some changes to how they operate so they can have balance and they can have, well-being in their life. Any obstacles that you would say to be looking for?
My biggest obstacle is me. But through a lot of the coaching and working with you and with Laura, I am learning to get out of my own way. One of the things, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, I think it was, and the podcaster was saying, act before you think. I would think things to death. And I would get stuck in my own uh, wheel, right? So my own hamster wheel is what I call it.
Yeah.
And now I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I definitely get out of my own way. I was just on a call before and we're launching a new product for my job. And they're like, well, it's not perfect. And in this, and I said, if it's 80 or 90% good, we're going. And they were terrified and they're like, but we're not ready. And I said, well, guess what? When we're 80 or 90% ready and we launch it, that's going to be the incentive for us to get our keisters in gear and to get it finalized.
Keisters. Yes, that is so huge for most women though. I'm so glad you said that, because for most of us women, for many, even in the executive ranks, I'm talking about, we focus too much on the battle and not the war. So what you're saying is, let's play the long game. Let's win the war and not worry about every little perfection. Every little battle doesn't have to be perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Freedom right there. Oh my gosh, beautiful. I like that though. You're right. Getting out of our own way. That's what it comes down to, because 90% of what's in the way isn't the job, the boss, the company, the blah, 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 blah. It's how we're perceiving it and how we're operating in it.
Yep.
Thanks, Sarah. Cool. Any advice or any last minute thoughts, stories you want to share?
No, I think my superhero story is one of my favorite stories. I've passed that story on to other people and it has been successful for them too. So I dragged a friend of mine to listen to your webinar, and although she hasn't signed up for CWU, and I keep telling her she should, what I've been able to share with her has actually helped her supremely in her job. She took the job I didn't want. And what she's done is she has limited her hours. She's having more time with her family. And so if anyone is listening and they're even considering it, I say make the plan to speak with you and to find out whether it's for them or not.
Fantastic. I love it. Sarah, thank you so much. Your story is so inspiring. I love what you've accomplished. I love what you've been able to do in your career and even more so in your life. I mean, just the simple moment pouring orange juice with your daughter this morning before you go off to your, executive level job and do what you need to do for the day. That's pretty much sums it all right there. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I super appreciate you being here and sharing it. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.